The top stories tonight in Y News. Latest survey results show that President Rodrigo Duterte will finish his term as the most popular president of the post-EDSA 1 era.
Authorities are ramping up security for the June 30 oath-taking of President-elect Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. to be held at the National Museum grounds.
In the midst of the oil crisis, a think tank believes that the Marcos administration must revive the joint oil and gas exploration with China.
And for our global stories, the United States announced new G7 sanctions targeting Russia's defense industry.
Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Monday, June 27, 2022. Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the Philippines and in other parts of the world. I am Harleen Delgado.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts. I am William Theo.
First in the news. According to a Publicus Asia Incorporated survey, President Rodrigo Duterte is the most popular post-EDSA president. This comes after the outgoing president received high approval and trust ratings in the last few days before leaving Malacanang. Rosalie Cons explains why.
For his performance during his 6-year term, outgoing President Rodrigo Duterte received a 75% approval rating. This is based on a survey conducted by Publicus Asia Incorporated from June 16 to 22, 2022 with 1,500 registered voters. 10% disapprove or strong disapprove of the president's performance. The chief executive received a 69% trust rating, while 11% say they have little or no trust in President Duterte. The numbers show that President Duterte will leave office as the most popular president of the post-EDSA 1 era, according to the executive director of Publicus Asia, Attorney Aureli Sinsuat. No other president who served under the 1987 Constitution has ended his or her term with majority approval and trust ratings, he adds. This was also echoed by the palace. The acting presidential spokesperson and presidential communications secretary made the statement in an interview with Politiscoop.
What is unusual about this presidency is a president exiting government with more than 60%. Legacy niya yan, 60-65%.
In a separate statement, the palace official also calls on the public to stay united in order to maintain the Philippines as a peaceful, proud, and progressive country. The president has already thanked the Filipino people for his administration's support.
Maiksi lang po sa sambayang Pilipino. Maraming salamat sa inyo.
President Duterte will officially turn over power to his successor, President-elect Bongbong Marcos Jr. on Thursday. Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
With only days left in office, Vice President Leni Robredo bids farewell to her staff as they get ready for the new administration. Harleen Delgado filed this report.
Today was a different day at the Quezon City Reception House. The place was filled with both laughter and tears as Vice President Leni Robredo held a general assembly for her staff for one last time after serving for 6 years. She thanked the officials, employees, close aides, and helpers who helped her over the years in the office of the Vice President.
Pag pinag-uusapan yung triumphs and accomplishments ng OVP, laging ako yung mukha. Pero hindi alam ng lahat na ako lang yung mukha, pero yung hard work talaga nasa sa inyo. Kaya ako gusto ko magpasalamat to each and every one of you.
On July 1 and 2, Robredo will launch the Angat Buhay non-government organization. The Vice President says a painting exhibition and fundraising will take place at the Leni Kiko Volunteer Center on Katipunan Avenue in Quezon City. However, only a limited number of attendees will be allowed at a time as a precaution due to rising number of COVID-19 cases in the metro. The OVP will release the registration guidelines for those who want to participate in the event, which will be on a hybrid setup.
Kasi parang sayang na yung obra ng ating mga kababayan ay ilalagay lang sa bodega. So ako po, humihingi ako ng parang permission ng mga nagbigay na i-donate ko po lahat na paintings for Angat Buhay. Ay dodonate ko yung lahat na paintings sa Angat Buhay para maraming makinabang.
The Angat Buhay program of the OVP was launched in 2016 with the aim of bridging the public and private sectors to help poor communities across the country. Based on OVP's data, over 300,000 families for more than 200 communities across the country were aided by the partnership program. Aside from her newest endeavor, the outgoing vice president says she is excited to go back to a peaceful life as a private citizen. Robredo hopes she can also render volunteer legal work in her previous group, Sentro ng Alternatibong Lingap Panligal or Saligan. For now, Robredo and the rest of her team are busy cleaning the office and packing up things for the turnover of the office to Vice President-elect Sara Duterte. In her final days as the Vice President, Robredo has been administering oath to various newly elected public officials, including Senator Risa Hontiveros. Robredo will leave her office on July 29 to make way for the next Vice President, who will take over on June 30. Jorlin Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God. With just days to go until President-elect Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr.'s inauguration, authorities are beefing up security at the National Museum grounds. Leia Ilagan reports.
The security for President-elect Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr.'s inauguration on Thursday, June 30 is now in place, says the Philippine National Police. PNP spokesperson Police Colonel Jean Fajardo said, in fact, a dress rehearsal to the civic military parade along Padre Burgos was conducted this morning. The PNP Civil Disturbance Management Unit, which will act as a barricade against the protesters, is also present in the simulation exercise, as is the convoy from BICC to the National Museum.
Ito po yung tinatawag nating time in motion to check lang po yung magiging travel time ng magiging takbo po ng mga sasakyan na gagamitin po para po sunduin at ihatid itong ating mga VIP na manggagaling po sa staging area natin diyan sa PICC.
The PNP Highway Patrol Group had already said that they had personnel assigned for the security of the 60 buses that will transport the VIPs.
We have sufficient personnel complement for this activity. For traffic assistance and control only, we have 26. Di pa po kasama doon yung those who will be manning the highways. That's for motorcycle escorts only.
Meanwhile, the PNP reminded the public of the existence of a gun ban in Metro Manila, which begins today. This means that the permit to carry firearms outside of residence in National Capital Region is suspended until July 2. Fajardo said that anyone caught with a firearm will be charged with illegal possession of firearms.
Ngayon pa lamang po ay iniimpormahan po natin at pinapaalalahanan yung mga gun owners po na kung sila po ay papasok po ng Metro Manila ay maigi po na wag na po nilang dalhin yung baril natin dahil magkakaroon na rin po ng mga spot checkpoints, particularly yung border control natin, yung mga areas at mga lugar na papasok po ng Metro Manila.
In addition to the gun ban, the Task Force Manila Shield will be activated tomorrow with checkpoint and choke point strictly implemented for those entering Manila. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
United States Second Gentleman Douglas M. Hoff will attend the inauguration of incoming President Bongbong Marcos Jr. on June 30. According to a White House statement, M. Hoff will lead the U.S. delegation for the inauguration. The delegation will also include Filipino-American Congressman Bobby Scott of Virginia and Office of Management and Budget Deputy Director Nani Coloret. Meanwhile, the White House statement did not mention why U.S. President Joe Biden will not be able to attend the Marcos inauguration. Biden is still in the Bavarian Alps for the G7 summit, which is scheduled to end on June 28.
The Philippine Overseas Employment Administration ensures that the application process for working overseas for Filipinos will be faster and easier. Eileen Cerudo will tell us why.
The Secretary of the incoming Department of Migrant Workers urged the Philippine Overseas Employment Administration to speed up the process of applying for work abroad. POEA Administrator Attorney Bernard Olalia reported that this is one of the agendas that the agency intends to implement.
Ease of doing business, yan po ang kasalukuyang pinagtutuunan natin ng pansin. Kung paano mapapadali ang mga proseso, lalong-lalo na sa pag-aproba ng mga prosesong mga dokumento. For example,
in addition to the application process, the agency will speed up the verification process in countries where overseas Filipino workers will be deployed. This would lessen the impact on OFWs. The official also said that due to the lifting of travel restrictions in other countries, more job opportunities for Filipino workers are now open. According to POEA data, there is a 30% increase in workers' deployment abroad in 2021 in comparison to 2020.
Ang ating pong mga ibang destination countries, yung tinatawag po natin traditional countries of destination, ay unti-unti na pong nagbubuka. Nagsimula na pong tumanggap muli ng ating OFWs ngayong pong 2022.
While not yet equal to pre-pandemic levels, Attorney Olalia expresses hope that the number of deployed workers abroad will continue to increase. In addition, the country continues to send healthcare workers abroad.
Mahigit 2,000 pa lang po ang na-deploy natin. Ang ibig pong sabihin yan, malayo pa po bago natin maabot yung 7,500. So, ang ibig sabihin, tuloy-tuloy pa rin ang ating deployment. Hindi po apektado yung mga mag-a-apply na mga ACWs po natin.
Eileen Cerudo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The G7 announced more sanctions to be imposed on Russia and their economy as the invasions of Ukraine and attacks by Russia continue. Marvi Delfin will give us the details live. Yes, Marvi?
Kath, to further isolate the Russian economy, the G7 leaders met in Germany and announced their plan on Sunday to ban the imports of Russian gold, a major export of the nation. The move positions Russia at a loss of over tens of billions of dollars, which limits the revenue needed for Vladimir Putin's war funding, which President Joe Biden took to Twitter to announce. However, Andrei Yermak, Ukrainian head of office for the Ukrainian president, added that there should be more aggressiveness in the new EU sanctions package, like a full gas embargo. The US has also urged for a price cap agreement on imports of Russian oils, which aims to limit Russia's war funding while also reducing inflation of oils. Meanwhile, the G7 leaders also announced the $600 billion investment in the new global infrastructure program to better health, communications, and energy infrastructures in low-middle income countries.
We're offering better options for countries and for people around the world to invest in critical infrastructure that improves the lives, their lives, all of our lives, and delivers real gains for all of our people, not just the G7, all of our people. Today, we officially launched the Partnership for Global Infrastructure and Investment.
Kath?
Thank you, Marvi Delfin, reporting live. Canada's job vacancies reached nearly 1 million in the first quarter of 2022. The demand in the health sector is driving this. Miguel Moldez will tell us why.
Job vacancies in Canada increased to 2.7% compared to the last quarter of 2021, according to Statistics Canada. This is equivalent to 957,500 vacancies. Vacancies are highest in the healthcare and social assistance sector, reaching 136,800 jobs. This is higher from the peak of 3 months earlier and higher to that of the first quarter of 2020 in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. Majority of the overall job vacancies in the healthcare sector are positions for registered nurses, licensed practical nurses, and nurse aides. Meanwhile, 81,500 jobs are needed to be filled for the construction industry. There are also a higher number of vacancies for helpers and laborers compared to 2020. Some steps that the government has taken include providing hiring incentives to employers when they hire eligible unemployed persons to fill job vacancies. They also have a list of job opportunities in the government's websites for Global Affairs Canada and Job Bank. Miguel Moldez, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Philippines-China joint oil and gas exploration in the West Philippine Sea has been completely terminated by President Rodrigo Duterte. But according to a think tank, the next administration must revive the talks. Nel Maribuhok will tell us why.
Herman Laurel, president of the Asian Century Philippines Strategic Studies Institutes, encouraged the next administration to continue the joint oil exploration talks with China in the West Philippine Sea. Laurel said now is a good time to resolve the crisis on the series of fuel price hikes in the country.
Ngayon po, magandang pagkakataon dahil nasa kagimitan po ng krisis ang Pilipino. At nagtataka sila ngayon, bakit hindi natuloy ito? Kasi kung natuloy ito, kahit pa paano may pag-asa tayo, meron na tayong sariling langis ulit, lalo na napaubos na yung mga payo.
Also, House and Ways and Means Chairman Joey Salceda is suggesting to President-elect Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. to require independent, internationally observed exploration instead before entering into a joint development agreement. Salceda stated that independent exploration prior to joint development will allow the Philippines to make a rational, nationalist decision. Outgoing Foreign Affairs Secretary Teodoro Locsin Jr. announced last week that the oil and gas exploration discussions between the Philippines and China have been terminated completely upon President Rodrigo Duterte's instruction. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Retailers complain about the increasing market prices of sugar. The Sugar Regulatory Administration identified importation delays and weather as the main causes of the increase. Ray Pelayo details why.
The Sugar Regulatory Administration forecasted a sugar supply shortage as early as January this year. This is due to the expected effect of weather on sugarcane crops. They planned to import that time, according to SRA Administrator Hermenegildo Serafica, but it was delayed after the measure was questioned in the court. Manufacturers who use sugar on their materials get their supply from the local market.
Siyempre, yung mga manufacturers, hindi naman gustuhin nila na maghinto po yung kanilang mga planta. So, binibili na nila yung asukal na available sa merkado. Eh, siyempre, yung market players, nakikita nila na masyado po yung demand at saka yung supply humihina dahil kukulangin talaga tayo, eh, naapektuhan din ang presyo.
The United Sugar Producers Federation of the Philippines, on the other hand, is not convinced that there is a supply problem. Manuel Lamata, president of the group, challenges SRA to show the actual sugar inventory in the country.
They should conduct a national survey of all sugar mills and bodegas of the traders para malaman niya exactly kung magkano ang asukal na iwan dito sa Pinas at kung may shortage, ilan ang shortage.
Siyempre, sa pagbaba ng produksyon, magkaroon talaga ng shortage. Isang federasyon lang to ang naniwala nga walang shortage. Lahat na 4 na federasyon at saka yung asosasyon ng mga millers at saka refiners sang-ayon sa datos ng SRA.
Market retailers such as Rhea have noticed a decline in her sales while Maria increases the price of her turon and banana cue.
Mahina. Yung dating 2 sako sa isang araw, ngayon 1 sako kalahati na lang natitinda namin.
Naapektuhan yung paninda kasi mataas yung asukal at mantika. Dati 10 lang po siya, ngayon 15 na po.
Ray Pilayo, UNTV News and Rescue, we serve the people, we give glory to God.
Meanwhile, incoming Tourism Secretary Cristina Frasco plans to examine the Tourism Department's plans and programs in the next few days. Frasco explains this as she initially meets with the DOT officials today. Asher Kadapan Jr. tells us why live. Yes, Asher, good evening. Go ahead.
Good evening, Will. All existing plans and programs of the current administration must be presented to President-elect Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr., who will set the direction for government agencies, including the Department of Tourism. Cristina Frasco, Cebu Mayor and incoming Tourism Secretary, explains this as she is said to have the existing programs as well as what she would like to bring into the agency be edified by President-elect Marcos Jr. Frasco conducted a meeting with DOT officials for the first time today as the agency transitions to a new leadership.
As the days and months pass, I look forward as well to examining all of the plans and programs that have already been set in place, as well as presenting new additions and innovations to the successful programs.
Frasco intends to continue to harness the marketability of tourism sites in light of other destinations that have not had equal opportunity for promotion and product development. The incoming DOT Secretary emphasizes the importance of a multidimensional approach to tourism by focusing not only on the natural resources, but also on the development and promotion of people and products. She said the next administration has a general vision set by President-elect Marcos himself to revitalize the tourism industry and spread development to all regions in the country. Frasco also specifies that even in the face of increasing cases of COVID-19 in the country, she will not question the national government's policy, nor will she impose on the wisdom of the incoming administration. She seeks a balance in protecting Filipinos' life as well as their livelihood and the economy instead.
I defer to the wisdom of both the current and the incoming administration as far as the maintenance or liberalization of health protocols is concerned. I only wish to bring to the attention of the necessary decision makers the necessity of balancing life and livelihood.
Will incoming Secretary Frasco also says that the DOT under the next administration will exert extra effort to reach out, including Mindanao region, which is challenged by peace and order. She assures that the agency will exert their service, talents, and expertise so Filipinos will receive the appropriate training, promotion, and marketability that they should have and will have moving forward. Will?
Yes, thank you, Asher Kadapan Jr., reporting live from Quezon City.
Justice Secretary Bernardo Guevara has bid farewell to the officials and employees of the Department of Justice this morning. Guevara also asked to support incoming DOJ Chief Jesus Crispin Boying Remulla. Dante Almento has the story.
Department of Justice Secretary Bernardo Guevara will step down on Thursday, June 30, as Justice Chief, being a coterminous with President Rodrigo Duterte. He was appointed last April 5, 2018. After the last flag-raising ceremony he attended this morning, in his message, Guevara encouraged all his colleagues to show the same cooperation and support to the new Justice Secretary, Attorney Crispin Jesus Boying Remulla.
In closing, let me just thank you one more time for the unforgettable kindness, for your full support, and your wholehearted cooperation that you have extended to me and my team during the past 4 years and 2 months. It is my fervent prayer that you will extend the same kindness, the same support, and the same cooperation to the incoming Secretary of Justice and his team.
Guevara believes that during his tenure, the DOJ gained more trust and respect. Guevara, on the other hand, will not leave government service because President-elect Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has appointed him as the next Solicitor General, and he had worked for former President Ferdinand Marcos Sr. in the 1970s and 1980s, so working with the Marcoses is not new to him.
Actually, this is not something new to me insofar as the Marcos administration is concerned, because during the administration of Ferdinand Marcos, I was already a staff economist at the National Economic and Development Authority, then the super planning agency of the government.
Dante Amento, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
4 people, including a child, died and more than 300 were injured after a part of a bull ring in El Espinal, Tolima, Colombia collapsed yesterday, June 26, during the annual bullfighting festival, locally known as Corraleja. Although it is still unclear why the wooden stands collapsed, outgoing President Ivan Duque said that they will request an investigation of the facts about what happened. Elected President of Colombia, Gustavo Petro, requested in a tweet to stop authorizing these kinds of shows in the future. Although animal abuse is a crime in Colombia, events such as corralejas and cockfights are protected due to the cultural history behind them. Several states in the United States has banned abortion. Ruth Bahe will tell us why live. Yes, Ruth, good evening.
Yes, Kat, good evening. The U.S. Supreme Court has overruled its 50-year-old Roe v. Wade decision, in effect ending the constitutional right to abortion. Back in 1973, abortion was made legal across the U.S., which was referred to as the Roe v. Wade case. Now that the nation's most senior legal body has overturned this right, abortion made at least 11 states act quickly and have effectively banned abortion since Friday's ruling. In a statement, Dr. Herminia Palacio, President and CEO of the Guttmacher Institute, said, without Roe, 26 states have laws that indicate outlaw or set extreme limits on abortions, effectively banning abortion in those states, including 13 states that have trigger bans in place but will immediately ban abortion with Roe no longer effect. These states are Oklahoma, Louisiana, Alabama, Arizona, Arkansas, Kentucky, Missouri, South Dakota, Wisconsin, and West Virginia. Meanwhile, Ohio's ban on most abortions where a fetal heartbeat is detected, or the heartbeat bill, immediately came into effect after the Supreme Court's ruling, after being on hold since 2019. Back to you, Kath.
Thank you, Ruth Bahe, reporting live. Pfizer-BioNTech announced that their Omicron-adapted vaccine show a higher immune response against the Omicron variant. Serbisyong Bayanihan will give us the details live. Yes, Charis?
Good evening, Kath. Data from the Phase 2/3 trial of the monovalent and bivalent Omicron-adapted COVID-19 vaccine candidates of Pfizer-BioNTech showed an improvement of variant-specific antibody neutralization responses, according to BioNTech's CEO and co-founder, Professor Ugur Sahin. The trial's result was observed in 1,234 participants, 56 years and older, and was reported that the vaccine candidates were well tolerated by them. A month after administration of the said vaccines, the 30 and 60 microgram monovalent booster dose resulted to a 13.5 and 19.6-fold increase in neutralizing geometric mean titers against Omicron BA.1, while the 30 and 60 microgram bivalent vaccine candidate showed a 9.1 and 10.9-fold increase. With the company's goal to introduce these booster vaccines at the earliest possible time, the results were shared to be discussed with the FDA Vaccines and Related Biological Products Advisory Committee on June 28, and on June 30 with the International Coalition of Medicines Regulatory Authorities. Meanwhile, the company Moderna also recently developed an updated COVID-19 booster shot, which appeared to have strong immune response against Omicron subvariants BA.4 and BA.5. Back to you, Kath.
Thank you, Therese Longbowen, for that live report. U.S. Space Agency NASA successfully launched a rocket from Australia, marking its first commercial rocket launch outside of the United States. Mavian Dog will give us the details live. Yes, Maeve?
Kath, on Sunday night, the rocket launched from the newly constructed Arnhem Space Center in a remote area of the Northern Territory on the land of the Gumatj people. The launch was delayed for about an hour due to wind, rain, and clouds at the site, but the rocket finally went just after midnight this Monday morning. It was only visible for 10 seconds before disappearing into the Earth's atmosphere. Labeled as a sounding rocket, it is expected to travel 300 kilometers during the 15 minutes it moves through space, and will carry an atmospheric observation platform to examine the Alpha A and B constellations, according to Michael Jones, CEO of the Arnhem Space Center. The launch was praised as a major turning point in the Australian space industry. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese stated, "This project will bring together the global and local industry to take the country's space sector into a new era." The rocket is the first of the 3 NASA rockets to be launched from the Arnhem Space Center. They are designed to collect scientific information on the physics of the sun, astrophysics, and planetary science, which can only be conducted in the Southern Hemisphere. The second and third rockets are scheduled to be launched on July 4 and 12, respectively. Back to you, Kath.
Thank you, Mavian Dog, reporting live from Australia. And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. I'm Kat Tumaraos, live from Bangkok, Thailand. Good evening.
The Metro Manila Development Authority, or MMDA, said the traffic situation on EDSA Kamuning Service Road is still manageable based on an initial assessment after its personnel monitored the traffic situation along EDSA southbound during the closure of the flyover. JP Nunez explains why.
Even after the closure of the EDSA Timog flyover, the Metropolitan Manila Development Authority reports that traffic is still manageable. Even though the 2 service lanes below the southbound lane of the EDSA Kamuning flyover are the only passable lanes. MMDA Chairman Romando Artes monitored the traffic situation early in the morning to evaluate the effect of the flyover closure, especially during rush hour. Chairman Artes reported that the routing scheme was successive in reducing the expected buildup of motorists. Motorists are advised by traffic law enforcers to take another route to Mabuhay Lanes from Mother Ignacia Avenue, Panay Avenue, Scout Albano Avenue, and Scout Borromeo Avenue before going to the flyover.
Hindi po masyadong mahaba yung pila ng sasakyan na gumagamit ng service road. Dahil ang ginawa po natin ngayon, may 4 po na pasukan para sa alternatibong daan.
Motorists, on the other hand, still believe that the closure of the flyover caused heavy traffic.
Medyo matraffic na nga dahil nga siguro dyan sa tulay na ginagawa.
Hindi raw kami priority. Actually, ang priority niya ito. Sinarado nila doon sa kabila. Dito nagdaanan lahat. Mas matraffic ko pag nandiyan sila eh.
Super traffic talaga kasi sinarado nila yan. Kung bakit hindi nila ginawa ng pandemic yan? Dapat pabilisan ng paggawa niyang na yan. Kasi malaking abala sa amin yan.
Once heavier traffic occurs, the MMDA will continue to monitor the situation in order to implement another solution. One of their ideas is to change the duration of traffic lights. While the Department of Public Works and Highways is still going after an earlier finish of the construction repair, which was said to be done in 30 days. JP Nunez, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Around 28 lawmakers attended a legislation executive course at the Batasang Pambansa. Lectures on current issues and challenges in Philippine development, public policy, media engagement, basic cybersecurity, and online hygiene are included in the course. Mock committee hearings and a mock plenary session are also included. The course will be attended by 3 batches of lawmakers. The 19th Congress will consist of 315 congressmen, 128 of whom are neophytes. Returning congressmen, on the other hand, can take the course as a refresher.
The House of Representatives is considering hosting a 100% face-to-face setup for incoming President Bongbong Marcos Jr.'s First State of the Nation Address, or SONA. Mark Leandro Mendoza, House Secretary General, says this. The official adds they also prepared a hybrid setup based on the COVID-19 situation in the country and the incoming president's preference. During SONA, the president outlines his legislative priorities.
5 Metropolitan Manila Development Authority workers were injured during a clearing operation in Pasay City yesterday. The assault happened while some drivers of electric tricycles were being apprehended and their e-trikes were being confiscated due to repetitious counterflowing in EDSA, says MMDA Chairman Romando Artes. The drivers were allegedly resisting the authorities, which led to the former sudden attack against the MMDA personnel. 2 of the perpetrators have already been identified, while at least 3 others are still being chased by Philippine National Police units working with the Pasay City government. The MMDA is considering filing charges against the suspects for physical injury and assault on a person in authority. Artes promises to continue and even improve their operation in the area with the assistance of PNP personnel in order to avoid such incidents.
Hindi po kami magpapatakot. Itutuloy-tuloy lamang po namin yung pagganap ng aming trabaho. Bibigyan po namin ng full support yung ating mga tauhan para po ma-minimize yung threat sa kanilang katawan at sa kanilang buhay.
Our Kasangbahay, as the world faces these trying times amid the pandemic caused by coronavirus, we are inviting everyone to join the global prayer for humanity from Monday to Friday, 9:30 p.m. Philippine time through the social media accounts of Members Church of God International.
And before we close, we will leave you with a word, giving glory to God. From the book of Psalms, chapter 138, verse 6, it says, "Though the Lord be high, yet hath he respect unto the lowly, but the proud he knoweth afar off." And those are the reasons behind the news, June 27, 2022. Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I am Herlene Delgado.
And because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.